Hello and welcome to the Stronghold Digital Mining Daily Update. Today is Thursday, February 1st, 2024. It is a brand new month here in the year 2024. The halving, if I'm not mistaken, is scheduled to take place, or at least is tentatively estimated to take place sometime in mid to late April of this year. So that's not that terribly far away. And I realize that that's going to be a bit of a game changer, right? Once the halving takes place, it's almost as if though we need to look at Stronghold Digital Mining through a different lens in some ways, right? Because all of a sudden, hash price essentially gets cut in half. Now, bear in mind, right, the transaction fee component that goes into hash price, that's going to be a variable that bears some very close monitoring. I think we're going to have to also, obviously, right, keep a really close eye on the price of Bitcoin, which is going to still be a significant portion of the formula, so to speak, that is used to compute hash price, to really kind of see how the dust is going to settle post-halving. Now, my expectation is that for a period of time, we're going to probably see a situation where it's conceivable that, hey, hash prices may not be as robust or as healthy as they generally have been the past number of months. So to the extent we get closer and closer to the halving, and let's assume for a moment that the price of Bitcoin continues to hover somewhere in the roughly $40,000 to say $45,000 range, somewhere in there. Well, under those circumstances, needless to say, we're going to be going into a halving where all of a sudden, not just Stronghold Digital Mining, but practically every publicly traded Bitcoin mining company is going to find itself, right, or find themselves really having to be careful. Because depending on how long that hash price remains very, very low as a result of the halving, you could start to see a bit of a shakeup in the industry. It's conceivable you might see companies that up until that point were steadfastly indicating that they were going to go it alone, suddenly deciding, you know what, there is something to be said for teaming up with another publicly traded Bitcoin mining company, potentially exploring a merger, potentially exploring acquisitions. Because keep in mind, when it comes to administrative expenses, yes, every company is a little bit different, but there's a cost associated with being a publicly traded company that if all of a sudden you get two separate publicly traded companies that are merged into one, you are going to be saving money as it relates to that type of administrative cost, right? The administrative cost associated with being public. And there, I believe, are a number of other cost categories that can be consolidated for which there can be some meaningful savings if companies were to be more open-minded about consolidating. Now, as the Chief Executive Officer of Stronghold Digital Mining, Mr. Greg Beard, mentioned in the relatively recent Watts and Blocks podcast, there's so much optimism amongst publicly traded Bitcoin mining companies, it seems, right? And I'm paraphrasing, that there continues to be this sense, this desire of, hey, just going it alone. So whether or not we're going to see that start to change as the halving either approaches or, after the halving, once you start to see what Bitcoin mining economics really look like, at least for that, say a quarter or two after the halving, I think there could be an opportunity for there to be some consolidation within the industry. I don't see that as a bad thing. I actually potentially see it as a good thing, but as it relates to Stronghold Digital Mining, there's no doubt in my mind, right? Remember what Greg said, right? And I'm paraphrasing. He's predicting, right, that, we're either going to merge with others, buy others, or be acquired ourselves. And I'm paraphrasing. So if that's Greg's prediction, and of course, Greg is in a very unique position to be making that type of prediction, I think we as co-owners of this business, as shareholders of this business, I think it's probably safe to assume that, right, as we've said before, Stronghold Digital Mining is in play, okay? As to whether or not we are primarily an acquisition target or perhaps instead more of a company that's now taking a look at a lot of privately held businesses out there that didn't quite make that window back in 2021 to go public. maybe there's an opportunity for Stronghold Digital Mining, right, to merge with some of these private entities, and in so doing, grow its hash rate, right? It's, Bitcoin mining hash rate to more of a level that would be consistent with saying, hey, we're more at scale. Because remember, in the Watson Blotz podcast, and I'm paraphrasing again, Greg did mention that we are subscale, meaning, Stronghold Digital Mining with roughly, say, 4 exahash of, Bitcoin mining capacity is subscale for a public company. That's thought-provoking, right? And it was soon after Greg mentioned that he alluded to his prediction of, hey, I predict, right, I'm paraphrasing, I predict we're going to, merge with others, acquire others, or be acquired ourselves. I think that's something that could conceivably happen now in 2024. I don't think that this is something that Greg is suggesting might happen 5 years from now, but rather probably sooner rather than later. Now, we're going to hopefully get a couple of sunny days here in Pennsylvania. According to the weather forecast, it looks like there may be 5 to 7 days of really clear sunny skies. If that's the case, that's going to definitely provide some satellite imagery, right? That's going to provide some hints and clues as to what may be going on at Scrubgrass, with specific emphasis on our carbon capture initiative. We are probably going to be hearing directly from Stronghold Digital Mining either tomorrow, Groundhog Day, February 2nd, or if not, sometime next week, with our Bitcoin production numbers for the month of January. As it was mentioned on X, right? Hey, when it comes to sort of like one's expectations, I'm sort of paraphrasing here again. Hey, it's better that we set our expectations very low in terms of the timing of this type of information release, right? And, kind of be surprised to the upside if we get it sooner than later. I just generally sense we're probably going to hear something tomorrow, if not then next week. The company has been, to its credit, quite consistent at eventually getting this information out. So I think a lot of us are definitely waiting to see what those numbers look like for January. Maybe they're going to talk about what our revenue numbers look like for January. That I think is going to be very interesting. And perhaps most interesting of all is if there's maybe a sentence or two that talks in more detail, or at least a little bit, about ongoing testing and engineering, sort of like, experimentation that's taking place at Scrubgrass as it relates to the Carbolith direct air capture devices. I know for all of us, it's a really big deal. For the company, it's a really big deal. I think this is a major, major bet that Stronghold Digital Mining is making. And to the extent this bet pays off, it can truly revolutionize the entire business, revolutionize the entire cash flow profile of the business, and can really be a nice addition to our existing revenue inputs, which are, of course, Bitcoin mining and energy sales. So we shall see what happens. I am very excited to see what is in that update. Okay, my friend, with all of that said, let's stay positive. I know the stock price has continued to get, sort of getting a beating. The entire market's been a little bit on the softer side. The entire publicly traded Bitcoin mining ecosystem has likewise, kind of continued to be a bit under pressure. But let's stay positive. Let's be great. And we'll see each other again tomorrow.